Hello and welcome. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our special show Reset India, where we talk about various aspects of Indian economy and how there is a bit of a restructuring required or is being done in terms of policy tweaks or other steps being taken. Now today we're going to talk about a very interesting concept, that is the concept of circular economy. We'll try and understand what exactly is this concept, the significance of circular economy and challenges for India in adopting this particular concept. But before we move ahead, let us give you a bit of a lowdown on what is a circular economy. And as you can see on your television screens, the economic approach to eliminate waste, continual use of resources. Also, it offers a new paradigm on a comprehensive view of both the products and processes as well. Now, in this, the production systems must adopt circular economy practices and to reduce the resource dependency and gain competitiveness is the main key goal here. It also brings in substantial annual benefits and significant reduction in congestion and pollution. Obviously, some more aspects out there of the circular economy. Also, maximizing resource efficiency and minimizing consumption of finite resources. Now, these are some of the key elements here of a circular economy, but we'll try and understand, all these key elements in detail and also the challenges therein, the significance as well. And for more on this, we're joined by two distinguished experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with Dr. Pradipta Ghosh. He's a distinguished fellow at TERI and former Secretary of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. We're also joined by Mr. Sudhir Kumar, Advisor, Industry Niti Aayog, somebody who has done and is doing a lot of work on the concept of circular economy there. Welcome both of you, gentlemen. Let me begin with you, Mr. Sudhir Kumar. Let's first start by putting things in perspective here. Let's start by making our viewers understand what exactly is the concept of circular economy.
Yeah, I will begin with something, two or three very critical points that are core to the whole development paradigm. This is something, the resources are at the core of any economy, and how really we are at ease to access them, to use them, and to make good use of them. And in the broader context, the sustainability of the resource use, it's the developmental challenge of the current time. The over the years, we have been, that's the general perspective, general view, that we are exceeding what the nature can really provide us for the sustainable development and to really provide for the entire population, for the planet. So there is something, we have to really give a different direction so that the entire production and consumption pattern can become within the limits, or so in these broad contours, and in this broad context, all the policymakers as well as corporates and civil society, they are becoming very conscious about the uses efficiency of the resources. And broadly, I can say, like, resource efficiency and the corresponding environmental sustainability challenges. These are the two building blocks we have to very carefully design, and so that we can really achieve our ambition of 5 trillion economy. And broadly, this circular economy, this new paradigm concept and all that, this really emphasizes to take a very comprehensive view on the products and processes through which we, make all our services and goods and all that, and how to really make a useful life of products and more beneficial, and how to really recover the embodied resources if we are not at the end of the life of these products. And overall, parallelly, to reduce the footprint of all these activities. So altogether, these, if we want to put up under one concept, we can call it something like circular economy, and that's the broad concept. And it's something, the challenge for policymakers is how to really bring these, conceptual framework to the practices.
Definitely, definitely.
And
We'll come to that challenges part as well, and that's a very important point you made, Mr. Kumar, out there. That's the challenge, bringing in this conceptual framework to the practical aspects, implementing it on the ground as well. But before we do that, let me bring in, Dr. Pradipta Ghosh there as well. Dr. Ghosh, as Mr. Kumar was pointing out, in terms of the concept of circular economy, there, your views on this concept, and also for us to understand, for everybody to understand. Why is it so important? Why is it so significant in today's age, in today's context, if you're looking at?
Well, it is significant for at least three reasons. The first is that by following circular economy practices, we avoid the disposal of waste in the environment, which results in health impacts and other kinds of adverse impacts to third parties. So we are avoiding those kinds of adverse impacts on third parties. The second is that we are conserving resources. So, for example, in the case of non-renewable resources, we are depleting them at a much lower rate than if we simply disposed of the waste products to the environment. The third is not so well appreciated, and that is that it has a strategic dimension. Now, let me explain. For example, in India, we are very short of rare earths, which are very important inputs for the entire semiconductor industry and for several other types of high-tech industries also. So we do not have sufficient natural deposits of rare earths. But by recovering the rare earths from used electronics and other devices, we can actually gain a perennial supply at much lower energy cost, and also involving involving a lot of employment. So the strategic disadvantage that we have in not having deposits of rare earths, we can make that good by in effect mining them from used devices, and by recycling and reusing them. So these are the three dimensions in which I think that the concepts of circular economy are extremely important for a country like India. And of course, these translate also into economic and growth benefits.
Okay, definitely. It does translate into economic and growth benefits, and that one, dimension which you mentioned, Dr. Ghosh, the strategic dimension is really, really important and makes it more interesting and more significant here as well. Mr. Kumar, I'd like to, come to you, and now let's understand, what is being done as of now, because there are various dimensions to this concept of circular economy, and India being a large country, having a very big economy here, and different aspects to that economic growth as well. What is being done to sort of introduce this concept of circular economy, or rather work on it in different formats or different modes in different sectors?
Yeah, the challenges before us is something like the European and the West world has already faced them. And it's something like, the building blocks or the different planks, basically to reduce the resource intensity itself. But that's a very challenging and something, it all depends the way the, corporates and the producers think about to make best economic use.
Okay.
But the recycling and reuse of resources is very much in. And recycling, all over, there have been policies and targets that how much the recycling targets has to be there. Initially, 2 years back, we started taking this recycling domain very seriously because in India, the recycling is very much in the informal side of the industry. And there the practices are not in a way benchmarked. So we have been, apart from regulatory aspects, the developmental aspects are very important. The regulatory aspects itself, they won't be really translating to the restructuring or the, better practices in the industry. So we have been interacting with trying to get the best practices as well as engaging with the recycling industry in the India. and getting kind of inputs that how really we can go for advancement in this area. But as we have been working in this domain, parallelly we feel that we cannot limit at this stage only to this domain,
Okay.
and we have to really enlarge all aspects of resource efficiency, including the reuse and reuse and recycle, all aspects we have to. So the discussions have been around all the domains, and that has been the kind of initiatives in NITI.
Okay, but how would you broadly classify the challenges here in adopting a circular economy, Mr. Kumar? Mr. Kumar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking, how would you broadly classify the challenges in adopting this concept of circular economy, specifically in Indian context?
Challenges are multifold. As I just mentioned, that we have to go beyond the regulatory approaches. We have to engage broadly with all the stakeholders, and we have to work upon the proven concepts like extended producers responsibilities in different sectors, and in many of the rules of the ministry of the different segments, these are already there. And further, a lot of innovations that are happening, we have to really work on those areas also, along with new business models. So it's not only the government, it's the how the entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial spirit and innovation comes together to deal with these challenges.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Ghosh here. Dr. Ghosh, you've been there as the Secretary in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and obviously, the concept of circular economy does have that element as well. But let's take it one by one. Let's first talk about those challenges which Mr. Kumar was talking about. In your view, Dr. Ghosh, what are the key challenges in adoption of various aspects of circular economy practically in Indian context?
So, you see, the broad concept is that we must avoid the social costs of disposal of waste into the environment, which involves disadvantages and health impacts and other adverse impacts to third parties. That is one. The second is that the social costs of premature depletion of natural resources. Now, how do we do this? Has to be worked out with specific policy instruments and regulations in particular cases. Now, for example, let me take one case, and that is, say that we want to dispose of municipal solid waste through waste to energy. Now, the technologies exist for disposal of waste to energy, but we must remember that when we are following this route for generating power, there are greater costs involved than if you were generating it directly from coal. And so the cost of such generation is higher. But if you say that, look, it has to compete with coal, then it will not work. And what we have to recognize is that the act of converting the municipal solid waste into electricity involves another joint product, which is the waste disposal, the environmentally sound waste disposal of the municipal solid waste. So we have to recognize these specific features. Let me give another example. You see, the informal sector, that is the kabadiwalas, who come to our homes every weekend. Now, till a few years ago, they would take glass bottles and pay us something for these glass bottles. Now, for the last several years, they have stopped. And I investigated why this is so, and they said it is no longer worth a while. What has happened is that at the prevailing wage rates, it is the collection and aggregation of the glass bottles for recycling does not pay them. But on the other hand, if they were to be disposed of in the environment, this imposes huge social costs because glass bottles can remain in the environment for thousands of years. So the point is that then we have to put in place instruments such as deposit refund, and similar instruments by which there is an incentive both for a kabadiwala and for the householder in recycling these glass bottles. So the point is that one cannot give a general, one size fits all approach for every sector. We have to look at different sectors carefully and then design the regulations and the and the practices accordingly. But
Okay.
let me say one thing: just by putting in place a regulation or a law is not going to be sufficient. We have to see that the regulation or laws provides positive incentives to all the players in the cycle, whether it is the generator of the resource or the user of the resource, but also that people who are the intermediaries who will actually be undertaking the process of recycling and use of the resource, that all of them have positive incentives. So this is a policy design challenge, and we have to make sure that in addition to the regulation and the technology, we have the institutional basis for undertaking these operations.
Okay, okay, that's a very, very interesting and a fair and a point there. Let me bring in Mr. Kumar on this. Mr. Kumar, do you agree, as Dr. Ghosh is pointing out, that we can't go with one size fit all approach, and these are the policy framework challenges here. So how do we go ahead and tackle these policy framework challenges?
Yes, this is, we are very much with the same thing. Yeah, the challenges in each of the sector are very different, and nothing very uniform policy kind of framework. As you are already aware, scrapping policy we have been deliberating. If we just see, there are in the whole value chain, there are different stakeholders, including the end consumer, who has to get, his vehicle is scrapped in case it's not to the fitness levels.
Okay.
So, the whole value chain in the different sectors differ, and the incentives, disincentive systems also differ. So, taking all these practical aspects, Niti Aayog is pursuing something. We have identified 11 different sectors that we are trying to really figure out that what will be really working in these areas. And we are engaging with different ministries and corresponding stakeholders in those domains. So, our first very test case will be how really will be rolling out the scrapping policy in the coming, say, month, coming year.
Okay, okay, indeed, that is the challenge out there. Let me take, one concluding question here to Dr. Ghosh, and I'll come to you as well, Mr. Kumar, on that aspect. We understand and we learn from, various global practices across the globe, across other, in other countries as well, vis-a-vis the adoption of the circular economy concept. So, Dr. Ghosh, if we are looking at the best possible practices in other countries, what is it that we can learn from there, and can we implement, the same sort of measures here with obviously tweaks suited to our needs here?
Well, at the outset, let me say that while we can learn from many different practices in other countries, I mentioned deposit recycling, there are pollution taxes and so on. But we have to understand that we have a huge advantage in the urban informal sector. And we must make sure that the urban informal sector, right now, it faces several disadvantages, legal disadvantages, in the sense that the urban informal sector is actually falls foul of several municipal laws and several local police laws. So it is not able to scale up. It is not able to formalize. It is not able to acquire technology and financial resources, and so therefore it is not able to move into new challenging areas. So we have to look at the instruments that other countries have utilized, but then look at how best we are going to leverage our strengths. And the biggest strength that we have is the urban informal sector, which most other countries do not have, and then see how they can be realized. I mentioned about deposit refund. In other countries, if you buy a Coke, then you have to, that Coke can, you have to go to the supermarket and return it, and then you get 5 cents or whatever it is. In India, we can leverage this so that the kabadiwala picks it up from your doorstep. So the whole operation becomes much easier. But so the same instrument has to be has to be operated in a slightly different way in India, leveraging our own strengths.
Okay. Mr. Kumar, your views there on learning from the best global practices?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, we have very different kind of environment, as Dr. told that we have a huge advantage in terms of informal sector working and dealing with all kind of I don't say it waste, but something that has economic value. And informal sector has been very successfully and engaged by some of the municipalities like Pune municipality. They have formally within their framework recognized their strengths and they have really engaged with them. But even from the within the India state to state, the models are they are not getting kind of replicated, and uh, I think the administrative practices are not really very tuned to engage very closely with the informal sector. That's a big challenge. But can we really, we can definitely learn from the best practices in the West, but they are not one-to-one kind of replicable. We have to really lot of tweaking are required.
Okay, definitely. We will have to
If I
tweak.
can just
Yes, Dr. Ghosh, please.
You see, in addition to these measures, we have to make it a mass movement. Now, for example, while we have the urban informal sector, scaling it up would be greatly helped if at the household level or if at the cooperative society level, we had segregation of the waste. Now, the segregation of the waste involves a slight effort to be put in by each household. Now, this can only be done through a mass movement. It cannot be done, by imposing fines, by imposing penalties, and so on. So, there is a great role for public opinion builders to make this into a mass movement so that the entire concept of sustainable economy, gets encouragement and gets strength from the fact that people cooperate in their own way in bringing this about, in addition to the whole question of regulation, technology, finance, formalization, in policy instruments, and so on.
Okay, indeed, there has to be a correct mix, a right mix of regulation, technology, as well as public involvement, and the global best practices can be implemented. But as both of you pointed out, they will have to be tweaked as per our needs, as per our environment. Thank you so much, Dr. Pradipta Ghosh, as well as Mr. Sudhir Kumar, for sharing your views and insights on this very important aspect. As our panelist pointed out and explained, this is all about the concept of circular economy and the challenges therein, and also the significance, the importance of adopting this concept for us and how we are approaching this entire challenge therein. We'll come back again with a different aspect which requires a bit of a resetting or restructuring. Till then, keep watching Sunset Television.